Nobody expected Stormi Steele to go live that night, let alone break down crying in front of thousands. You could see it in her face. This wasn't about clout or some performative meltdown. This was someone who had hit her limit. No filters, no scripts, just raw emotion pouring out. And the craziest part? The story she told wasn't even the half of it. Stormi had always been seen as this poised, driven woman who handled her business and moved in silence. So when she started, wiping away tears on camera, talking about being blindsided and betrayed, it caught everyone off guard. But behind that one moment was a long buildup of tension, frustration, and, according to her, straight-up manipulation. And the man at the center of it all? Carlos, her former manager, business partner, and, for a time, someone she trusted deeply. It wasn't always like this. A few years back, Stormi and Carlos looked like the ultimate power duo. She was on the rise, full of creativity and fresh energy. He had the network, the hustle, and the reputation. They were building something real, or at least that's what it looked like from the outside. Stormi credited Carlos with opening doors and helping shape her brand. And Carlos? He constantly hyped her up, calling her one of the most promising talents he'd ever worked with. But somewhere along the way, things got weird. Quiet at first, missed calls, passive-aggressive comments in meetings, decisions being made without her input. Stormi tried to brush it off. "It's just stress," she told her team. "We're all under pressure." But deep down, she knew something had shifted. The real breaking point came during a meeting that was supposed to be about her next big project. Stormi had been working on a campaign that meant the world to her. Her sound, her image, her vision. She'd poured months into it. But Carlos didn't see it the same way. He wanted something safe, predictable, marketable. He said the numbers didn't justify taking risks. "And Stormi?" she snapped. People who were in the room that day said it felt like a switch flipped. Stormi was tired of being told to play it safe. She'd followed every rule, hit every deadline, and still felt like she was being pushed to the side. So when Carlos laid down a contract that would have given him even more control over her work, she refused to sign. And that's when it all exploded. According to Stormi, Carlos called her unprofessional, said she was hard to work with, and accused her of being too emotional for the business. She fired back, telling him he'd been undermining her for months. It wasn't just a disagreement, it was a full-on confrontation. And by the end of it, Carlos made the call. He fired her. Stormi didn't talk about it right away. She stayed quiet, trying to process what had just happened. But as rumors started flying, everything from contract disputes to shady behavior, she decided she wasn't going to let someone else control the narrative. That's when she went live. In the video, she broke down, saying she felt betrayed, tossed aside like she didn't matter. She didn't just lose a manager, she lost someone she once considered a friend. The pain was real, and her fans felt it too. The internet lit up with support, but at the same time, it raised even more questions. What really happened behind the scenes? And was there more to Carlos's decision than just creative differences? Turns out there was. Carlos didn't say a word for days. While Stormi's name trended and her live stream was being clipped and shared all over social media, he stayed radio silent. No tweets, no statements, not even a vague quote reposted to his story. Just silence. And that silence said a lot. Some folks thought he was buying time, figuring out how to spin the situation. Others figured he didn't care enough to respond. But inside his camp, it wasn't as calm as it looked from the outside. People close to Carlos say the blowback rattled him. He knew the fallout would be bad, but he didn't expect the internet to ride so hard for Stormi. She had fans, sure, but the way the public rallied behind her, reposting her tears, defending her story, even dragging his name through the mud, that hit different. Especially for a man who built his entire career on being the calculated, composed one behind the scenes. Eventually, he released a statement. It was stiff, polished, clearly vetted by a PR team. In it, Carlos called the decision necessary, citing irreconcilable creative visions and a breakdown in professional communication. He praised Stormi's talent but said their business goals no longer aligned. It was cold, sanitized, safe, and it pissed people off even more. Fans didn't want a corporate memo. They wanted the truth. They wanted to know why Stormi had to cry on Instagram to be heard, why Carlos didn't fight harder for her, why he let things spiral instead of fixing them privately. His vague statement only poured more gasoline on the fire. But as the noise got louder, a new narrative started creeping in from Carlos's side. Whispers, anonymous sources, posts from burner accounts, allegations that Stormi had been difficult to work with, that she'd missed deadlines, that she was shopping around behind Carlos's back for new management deals. Nothing was confirmed, but the seeds were planted. According to one source close to the situation, Carlos had been warned for months by members of his team that Stormi wasn't happy. She'd allegedly grown distant, skipped meetings, and avoided signing contracts. The final straw, they say, came when someone from another agency reached out to Carlos, claiming Stormi had been in talks with them behind his back. To Carlos, that was betrayal, a sign she wasn't loyal, that she was ready to walk away anyway. Firing her, in his eyes, just made it official. Stormi, for her part, denied those claims. She never mentioned a rival agency in her livestream. But when asked later during a podcast appearance, she didn't hold back. "I was exploring options." "Yeah," she said. But who wouldn't? When you feel unheard and boxed in, you start looking for exits. It wasn't just about control or contracts. It was about trust, about feeling like your voice matters. Stormi felt silence. Like every time she brought up a new idea, she was being told to sit down and be grateful. That tension, it had been brewing for over a year. Meanwhile, their mutual collaborators were caught in the crossfire. Producers, stylists, even publicists were being forced to pick a side. Some quietly unfollowed Carlos, others posted subtle messages of support for Stormi. A few chose neutrality and tried to keep their heads down, not wanting to get dragged into the mess. But the industry was watching. Everybody was watching. And with all eyes on them, the pressure wasn't just emotional. It was career-threatening. Stormi's next move would determine if this saga destroyed her or made her. Stormi didn't disappear. She regrouped. After everything, her live breakdown, Carlos's cold dismissal, the messy rumors, she knew the only way forward was to take control of her own story. No more waiting for the industry to hand her validation. No more relying on gatekeepers to vouch for her talent. She started laying the foundation for something new, something that didn't depend on anyone else. First came the surprise drop, a new single, completely independent. No label backing, no marketing machine behind it, just her voice, her vision, and the raw emotion that had everyone paying attention in the first place. The track wasn't polished in the usual commercial sense. It was raw, vulnerable, and full of fire, like an open letter to everyone who'd written her off. Within hours, it was trending, not because of a big campaign, but because people felt it. Stormi's fans showed up heavy. The same people who defended her during the drama now championed her music like it was a movement. Celebs reposted it. Influencers made TikToks to it. People who'd never even heard of her before the Carlos situation were now quoting her lyrics and asking, "Wait, how did we sleep on her?" Behind the scenes, Stormi was building quietly, forming her own team, connecting with collaborators who respected her vision. She didn't just want new management, she wanted freedom, control over her image, her schedule, her sound. The kind of autonomy that few artists ever really get, especially after a public fallout. Meanwhile, Carlos pushed forward with business as usual. He signed a new artist not long after the split, a bold move that some called strategic, others called petty. The new artist was promising, no doubt, but comparisons were inevitable. Every post, every launch, every interview, people brought up Stormi. "This your new Stormi?" they'd comment. "She better not cry on Lev too." The shadow of the breakup lingered over him. Brands were cautious. Some backed out of collaborations, unwilling to associate with the negativity still swirling online. A few artists rumored to be joining his roster suddenly went silent. Internally, his team was divided. Some felt he'd mishandled things. Others defended his right to make tough calls. But regardless of where anyone stood, one thing was clear. His brand had taken a hit. Despite the noise, Carlos kept a stoic face. Interviews, press runs, speaking gigs. He played the same card every time. It was business. But no matter, How many times he repeated it, the public wasn't buying it completely. The human part, the emotional part, was missing. Stormi didn't need to defend herself anymore. She let the work speak. She started doing pop-ups, community events, and intimate live performances that felt personal. Fans came to listen, but they stayed because they believed in her, not just as an artist, but as someone who stood up for herself when it would have been easier to stay quiet. The moment that really shifted everything? An onstage speech she gave at a women's empowerment event. No tears, no dragging names, just her story. She talked about outgrowing rooms that once felt safe, about the pain of trusting people who saw you more as a product than a person, and about the beauty of finally owning your narrative. The crowd gave her a standing ovation. That moment wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about realizing she didn't have to. Stormi isn't just bouncing back, she's building something bigger than the fallout. And Carlos? He'll probably keep moving in the industry. But the memory of how this played out will always follow him. The truth doesn't stay buried for long. Sometimes the real glow-up isn't just about success. It's about survival, with your soul intact. Stormi Steele has always come off as the strong, no-nonsense boss chick, building her canvas beauty brand from the ground up, standing tall on Love and Marriage, Huntsville, and always keeping her composure through all the shade and rumors. But lately something has shifted. Just when fans thought the drama was cooling down, Stormi Steele dropped an emotional bombshell that has everyone reeling. In a raw and unexpected moment, Stormi opened up like never before, revealing some behind-the-scenes truths that even longtime fans didn't see coming. She confessed that the success everyone sees on the outside doesn't reflect the silent battles she's been fighting inside. She didn't hold back, admitting that fame and reality TV took a serious toll on her mental health. She talked about how she felt used by people she once trusted, and how the image people painted of her was far from the truth. For the first time, viewers saw Stormi break down, not as a businesswoman or a reality star, but as a real person just trying to protect her peace. Stormi also hinted at how the show twisted her narrative, making her look like the villain while others played the victim. She revealed how producers pushed certain storylines and how she struggled with keeping it real versus playing the game. This wasn't just a vent session, it was a cry for clarity. She even got emotional talking about how her family, especially her husband Courtney, kept her grounded when everything else felt fake. That moment hit hard for fans because it showed just how deep the emotional weight really was. This confession wasn't about drama, it was about truth. About finally giving fans the full picture and letting them see what really goes on behind the cameras. The moment that sent shockwaves through the Love and Marriage, Huntsville fan base came straight from Carlos King himself. Carlos revealed that he and Stormi Steele were parting ways professionally, and the language he used wasn't your usual business goodbye. He said the decision came with a heavy heart and cited irreconcilable differences. It felt like something broke, down behind the scenes that couldn't be repaired. He didn't give exact details, but the tone of the message hinted at a falling out that may have had layers.